Indeed, Desiree, it's the first day of schools here in KwaZulu-Natal and also along the coastal provinces. And the Minister of Basic Education, Angie, has just left this school where we are in Umlazi, where she was busy, interacting with members of the media and also monitoring the proceedings of day one of schools here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But of course, we did have an opportunity to speak to the minister as well as the premier of KwaZulu-Natal pertaining to their, preliminary findings in terms of how, this day has gone so far. And of course, the issue of infrastructure came to the fore again. The Minister of Basic Education, Angie, saying that, after inspecting about 2 schools here in Umlazi, it is quite evident that the issue of poor infrastructure in some of the township as well as rural schools, is really a problem for the Department of Education. But she was also, emphasizing the fact that they are going to be, doubling their efforts in terms of ensuring that these learners, receive, the education that they deserve. But of course, those are just some of the issues, Desiree, that pertain to, the issue of infrastructure. And also there was another issue raised by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Nomusa Dube, who said that KwaZulu-Natal is basically, considering, piloting a project of opening, online applications for, prospective learners across the province. Of course, that this is the biggest province in terms of the number of learners across the country. About 2.8 million, pupils are from this, province attending, the public schooling, system. And the Premier there, Nomusa Dube, saying that perhaps it is time that the department, changes its approach in terms of embracing, new ways of doing things in the education system. But of course, this is happening ahead of the, official, release of the matric results of the class of 2022. The minister there again saying that KwaZulu-Natal will surprise many people in terms of those results. And of course, we know, that they are going to be announced tomorrow by the Minister of Basic Education, Angie. But in terms of the day so far, Desiree, the authorities were not in a position to be able to have a comprehensive, response in terms of how the day has been. Of course, there are over 6,000 schools in this province, so they are going to be visiting more schools and also getting, reports from various districts within the province in terms of how the first day of school has been in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Desiree.
Was the media happy with the responses of the officials, Simphiwe, just in terms of the outstanding number of children that have not been placed yet?
Well, we did pose that question, Desiree, to the authorities and the minister, and also the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, being accompanied by the MEC, said that so far they are getting reports that work is being done to ensure that this day progresses smoothly. But of course, we did also pose the question of the rolling blackouts to the minister, who basically downplayed it by saying that hers is not about the issue of providing electricity, but she has to ensure that learners, are at school and are receiving, the necessary, teaching and learning time from teachers. And she's basically said that the issue of the current rolling blackouts, which are currently being experienced in the country, is not an issue which falls under her purview. But of course, she said that from where she is, that issue has not in any way disrupted the issue of schooling in the country. Desiree.
Simphiwe, do we know the minister's itinerary now that she's been to Umlazi? Where else is she going in KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, the minister's last stop for this particular, itinerary, Desiree, is at La Lucia, where she is going to be, visiting a school there, a mathematics school that was recently opened, by the provincial education department about some few years ago, 2 years to be precise. That school is going to be visited by the, minister. And also, when you speak about that visit, Desiree, she did mention the issue of infrastructure in most of the townships and rural schools being a problem for the Department of Education. And but if you compare, that particular school, which is in a suburban area of Durban in La Lucia, you can see really the discrepancies when it comes to the issue, of the infrastructure that is being provided at, township schools, rural schools, as opposed to schools in the, urban areas, if you like. But of course, that issue is ongoing, and after that engagement, then the minister will be in a much better position, rather, to basically indicate as to the findings in terms of how the day has progressed for the class, or rather for the academic year in 2023. That's right.
It's interesting that you raise the issue of infrastructure discrepancies as the minister goes to a school in La Lucia, which itself is an upmarket area. So it will be interesting to see just how one juxtaposes and compares the difference between what you saw in Umlazi and what we'll see when she goes through to La Lucia. Simphiwe Makhanya, they're bringing us the latest in terms of the activations and the activities of the Minister of Basic Education, Angie, as she goes to different schools in KwaZulu-Natal.